girls. Yay! Welcome, welcome, welcome. It is still Radio Now 95.3 FM Lagos. You're beyond the news station, and it is time for Express Lounge. And you know how we do it on Wednesdays, right? Yes, amazing. It is time for Woman Crush Wednesday. Yay! I'm super excited because of the guests that we have in the studio. But you know how we do it mostly? It's just to inspire you, right? You listen to people, you listen to their stories, and you're like, okay, if she can do it, I can do it, right? And so it's just a way to motivate us, really. And so today on Express Lounge, Woman Crush Wednesday, our guest is, okay, before I let the cat out of the bag, let's just give a background as to who she is. She's a TV personality, she's a model, actor, actress, some say actor, actress. Actor, means the same thing. Public speaker, spoken word artist, entrepreneur, founder of Osayuki. She'll tell us more about that. She has a bachelor's degree in political science from McGill University, and she also has a Master of Science in Politics and Communication at the London School of Economics in the UK. Let's stop here for now, because if we go on and on, we're not going to end it. So yes, our woman crush for today is no other than Sabrina Idukpaye. Yay! No, that's not how we do it. Applause. Sabrina, it's great to have you in the studio today. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
How are you doing?
I'm great. I'm feeling good. I'm excited. I think this is officially like my first radio, interview.
That's nice. Credit to us. Well, just put this disclaimer out that, due to restrictions that cannot be divulged at this moment, right, we would not be touching on Sabrina's time at the house. But when I saw political science, I was like, were you thinking of becoming a politician or something?
Funny enough, I feel like I was a born politician. Really? I mean, elementary school, I was president of my school. High school, secondary school, I was president. Every year I was running for something. I've been asking for votes since I could remember. So it's in there in me. So it only made sense that once I got to university, political science was what I was going to go for. And also, I grew up in Canada, whereby you can't go straight into law school. Okay. So you have to have a first degree. So all the law school wannabes, the easiest form of direct law school pathway was political science. Right. So it was a combination of experience, what I would see in the future, and what I needed to do to get to my next my next step.
Yeah. Okay. And also looking at that, right, you said Canadian. Are you Italian? Are you Canadian? Are you Nigerian? Which one?
First of all, I am Nigerian. My mom is Nigerian. My dad is Nigerian. I am proudly Edo. Pataki. So I have to clear that up. I am definitely Nigerian and Edo. I've just also had the privilege to be born in Italy. Okay. So born in Italy in 1993 is a whole different experience than the travels that we do now and go to Italy, whereby it's one very fun destination. Being a black individual in certain countries in Europe was not always so glamorous, right? So it was an interesting experience growing up there, because I remember one encounter where my Italian friend saw me as Italian, but she was talking about a black person saying, look at that mierda, like look at that shit, look at that garbage. That's how I grew up in a place where it was predominantly white. So that was my experience there. And I had the privilege of now moving to Canada that was much more multicultural, whereby, I didn't have individuals who were not of color talking so falsely or wrongly about, my person. So Canada and Italy both have their place in my heart. And they definitely make me who I am today. And, they impact my mindset and vision in the world. But truly, deep in there, I am always going to be Nigerian. Yeah. That is what I am. The blood that runs through me is Nigerian. And that's why I like to say I'm Italian by birth, Canadian by citizenship, Nigerian by blood.
Only
and blood is thicker than everything else.
Okay. I was going to ask, this discrimination in Italy, that you talked about. Yeah. How was that for you, experiencing that?
To be very honest, I haven't had firsthand experience, meaning I haven't been the one in the receiving end of it. So the closest thing to firsthand would be this encounter I just told you,
Okay.
which is a memory from when I was literally a child, meaning prior to the age of 8. Because by
Okay.
8, I'd already moved to Canada, right?
Right.
Well, 9, so towards the end of a week to my birthday, a week to my ninth birthday. So that's the closest thing of a direct experience. But I saw a lot of things, like, even the fact that the Nigerians who were there, or even the Ghanaians, they were occupying jobs that the Italians wouldn't. That's a micro um, discrimination already,
Yeah.
right? Because we're thought as lesser than, and that's why we only pretty much occupy those things. When I was in Italy, when I was a young child, we didn't have a black bus driver. There was no black teachers, there was no black people in spaces where you could see. All you see around you is whiteness.
Okay.
But with the activists who are on ground, with those who like myself were born there and stayed there, they're speaking up. They're doing a lot. So kudos to them. I had the
Yeah.
opportunity to speak to a lot of Afro-Italian activists for my degree, and they really shared so many moments. I was like, oh wow, ah, it's good to say I come out too, because hey, if me I experience this one, yeah, 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 But I see how those experiences were turned around to make them activists, and now there's been so many things going on in the country whereby now you can actually see a black bus driver, you can actually see a black lawyer. In fact, one of the people I did the research on and was, blessed enough to speak with him. He's a lawyer, one of the only,
Okay.
prominent black lawyers in Italy. So it's great. Things are changing gradually. It's going to take time for it to truly become a norm to
Yeah.
have black individuals in places of power, but it's happening, and I'm glad that those who stayed back are really speaking up and
Yeah.
creating grounds for those to come.
They don't have any choice. Especially when it comes to Nigeria. They
Of
say Nigeria no they
course.
carry last.
We know they carry last. We'll
So
never
who
will.
is Sabrina? Who are you?
Okay, that's a good question.
Yeah.
I am somebody who is always happy at the
can see
core,
that.
and I want to share love and happiness all around me. Now, in terms of who I am someone who's always been in conflict between my creative side and my academic side.
Okay.
It's very interesting because I remember I came to Nigeria in 2017 hoping to do NYSC because I truly do believe that I have a calling to serve in this country at some point in my life. And given that I haven't done any schooling in the country, I thought coming back for NYC was going to ground me. It was going to give me first-hand experience
Okay.
on living here and being around my mates who are equally passionate about the country like I am. So I was here for that, and that would be kind of in my academic path, right?
Okay.
However, while I was here, I really wanted them to put me in a non-governmental agency or in a governmental agency. But
Okay.
somehow, some way, I got put into a media house. So
Okay.
I started doing TV. And, I kind of liked it. And I was like, okay, I've never thought about this. Because I think all my life I've been thinking about leadership, law school, being in spaces whereby it's going to translate to my future.
Okay.
Which is why my first job was working court services with the Toronto Police. So I've
Right.
been very, tunnel vision about where I wanted to go. So NYC was the first time whereby I explored and realized that, what, Sabrina, you're equally a creative. Yeah, you're smart. You do well with books, but you could also do well with speaking.
Okay.
You could also do well with your personality. So, I'm that person who I can't really be boxed. I'm truly dynamic. I've done really well in school. I've done really well socially. And I've done really well in workspaces that are not confined to the corporate world, right?
Yeah.
So I'm really somebody who I don't think one person can really get to really know me like that. A fraction of who I am. Because even myself, I'm in the journey of self-discovery because there's some parts of me I still haven't tapped into, that I still haven't discovered. So every day is a new day to discover who Sabrina really is.
Really is. I mean, we'll get to how you juggle all of this because it's not easy. Sometimes you do one job and you're stressed, right? And now you're saying it's not what you even wanted from the very beginning.
Yeah.
You just found yourself, TV and the rest of it. So how has that journey then been for you, discovering this a TV personality? You're a model, you're an actor, public speaker, you're an entrepreneur, right? So how's this journey been for you?
I believe that it's been a great journey because not many people get the privilege to have many careers in their lifetime. Most people start working and pretty much till they retire, there in that one field. So I think it's been a blessing to be able to continuously transition and make myself into this person. So I think I would say my first career would have been maybe really a politician because before I started modeling, I was already asking for votes among my peers.
Okay.
I was also like, the valedictorian. So I've always been in a place of leadership from very young. So this is what, 14, elementary school. What is that? Yeah, I think the oldest you're going to be is like 14 there. Okay. So I was already like, representing my peers, speaking out, right? So that's something that started really, young. But then I also grew taller than my peers and I was very slim. And I was like, okay, people started looking at me saying, okay, basketball. But I chose the fashion route because it was either, oh, you definitely need to play basketball,
because
volleyball.
You are tall.
Exactly, because I'm tall. Volleyball. Then there were also the people, oh no, you need to model. And then I started doing some modeling shows. I did some runway, I did some prints. Shout out to all the designers that believed in me before I became the biggest Sabrina that I am today. Yeah. So I worked with a lot of brands in Canada. I was the face of so many different brands. So it was a very nice experience. But for me, school was number one because I grew up with a family or with parents that said, that is what is going to get you ahead, your education.
Okay.
Unlike my mother who didn't have the privilege to be educated, she really wanted that for me. So while I was pursuing modeling, back of my head was always school, and I really do enjoy school. So school was never a thing whereby, oh, my parents wanted me to get great grades. I wanted to get great grades. So me being a straight A student was not about my parents, was literally an ambition, a goal that I set for myself and I achieved. So it's always been like, what does Sabrina want? Why does she want this? What is the goal? That's how I've been operating since I was a child. So much so that when I created Facebook, my name was Sabrina Bella, not Sabrina Idukpaye, because I wanted to have a separate footprint between the creative, fun person and the serious career person. Yeah. And it's like, I don't think many 14-year-olds were thinking this far. I think most people had sexy are you emails. I never had that. I've been always, like that. But I think how I've been able to manage and transition them is just always thinking, okay, how can this help this? When I agreed to be on television, I just thought, okay, if I want to eventually get into politics, it would be good to become a household name. Right. I thought about the likes of Desmond Elliott. They were first a veteran Nollywood actor before they stepped into, the political arena. So that's how I thought about it. That, okay, it could still work out. Me doing NYC is for politics, right? And then me now getting on TV is still for politics because I want my name to be known and I want people to already follow me and see the things that I am doing within my community, within myself, how I am learning and growing, right? So by, maybe next 10, 15, 20 years, I come out, you're like, oh, I know her. I've been following her journey. Yeah. I do not mind giving her my vote wholeheartedly because I know she's doing this for the right reasons.
So if you were going to run for political office, which would it be?
Should I disclose? Well, I feel like something I've kind of picked up on in Nigeria is you always start from home. You always start from home, and that's why it's going to be very important for me to do a homecoming to where I am from, which is Edo State. Okay. I'm a Beanie girl for life, know. So I think that's generally the course that people take in politics in this country is start from home, which would be Edo State. But I've also realized that you don't necessarily need to be part of the electoral process by getting voted in. Someone can say, okay, she's doing exceptional work in her field. She's, technocrat. Let's put her in office, right? That happens as well.
To get the appointment.
Exactly.
Right? Okay.
So I'm not just only thinking about, okay, getting into a position that I need to. I'm just open. I want to do good things. Okay. And I feel like as I do good things, I'll be noticed for those things. And this all still comes from growing up, seeing, my people in not the best spaces, right? I think me wanting to be in politics really comes from me being a child in Italy and seeing these Nigerians, doing demeaning jobs, right? Because they thought the grass was greener elsewhere. So I started thinking, okay, how can we change this? When I was, 6 years old, 8 years old, I thought becoming a lawyer was how I was going to help them. But as I grew older, as I got to Canada, I started, hearing things like activists. I started hearing things like, legislature, policy, being in a place of power to create change that trickles down, right? So I thought, okay, well, where is the source of the problem? If it's home, that's why they're leaving home. Why don't you go home and be part of the trailblazers that create change? So that's where my desire to end up in politics is, right? Because I
Right.
truly want the change to begin with us. I truly believe in Nigeria, and I think Nigeria is great and will be greater, right? So that's where that comes from. Is has to do with my mom and dad, them leaving. My dad being an artist that never got to truly fulfill that. My mom could have been Miss World or supermodel, but because she was so focused on helping her family, making money,
Right.
these things were never her realities. That's why I always say I've been truly privileged to have so many careers, be able to explore all these things
Okay.
that my father couldn't, that my mother couldn't, and
Right.
then many Nigerians have not had the privilege to experience.
That you talked about, your mom not, being educated, and then you
Yes.
talked about your dad not being able to fulfill his dreams of being an artist.
Yeah.
Does he still want to do that?
So my dad is late. He passed
Oh,
on in 2018, lost him to cancer.
so sorry.
Um, yeah, so I didn't even know my dad was an artist until he passed on. I had a family member in I think America say to me, "Did you know that your father drew a big mural of your grandfather at some point?" And I said, "Wow, I did not know." But this makes so much sense because I remember when I just relocated to Canada at a young age, I kept on drawing. I was really good at sketching. I won a couple of contests. At some point, when they were doing the play in my elementary school, I was the art director. I was drawing big posters of Annie. But now it makes sense. The talent was not of mine. It came from my father without even knowing it. So it's so sad that I didn't even know my father as well as I could have because I lost him to a terminal illness. So
I'm so
yeah,
sorry
yeah,
about that. I'm so
yeah,
sorry
yeah,
about your loss.
yeah.
How were you able to move past that?
So it's one of those things where I'm also a realist. If you take decisions, also be ready for the consequences. My
Mm.
father was a smoker, so he died of bronchial cancer, which is a direct correlation to him smoking. So while I love my father and I feel a lot, sometimes like last night, I read someone's bio and it said father, and I was almost moved to tears. I felt it. Started thinking about my dad and like,
I'm
oh
so
my
sorry.
God, you're not here to experience my life with me. You're
Mm.
not here to be proud of me. You're not even here to have conversation with me. I felt it, but I also remember that, this is why in my lifetime, I don't want to ever smoke. I don't want to try it. Not for fun, not for anything. There are certain decisions I have made in life because of who he was and the things I saw and how it didn't translate to something good, right? So while I love my father and I want him to rest, you know, in peace and I hope he watches over me, I also do want people to know that the decision that you make will somehow, some way affect you, either positively or negatively. Unfortunately for my dad, being such an aggressive smoker led to aggressive cancer.
I'm so sorry about that. I'm really
Yeah.
sorry about your loss. And,
Thank you.
I also lost my father, so I could understand how, that would also feel, and
Yeah.
also trying to navigate life, without
Yeah.
a father. But I'm
Yeah.
sure that he's smiling down at you and he's proud of everything that you're doing.
Thank
So,
you,
yeah.
Daddy. Yeah.
So which of this has been fulfilling for you? Would you talk about your acting career? Would you say it's modeling? Or would you say, you're fulfilled with everything altogether?
I think there's been a time and place for everything. Modeling was great. Um, I think I really did enjoy the runway. Mercedes Benz Fashion Week, was great for me. Allowed me to travel. I think that's the only time I've actually been to South Africa was because of a modeling job. So I haven't even gone there as a vacation yet. Malta was an island that I've been to because of a modeling job.
Okay.
So modeling really gave me an experience to go to places that I would have probably never gone to. So that was great. Acting, I haven't truly um, gone lens with it. So I still look forward to doing more within, the acting space. I've had, the privilege of having multiple commercials in Nigeria. So
Mm,
yeah, I was the lead for Dan Q seasoning. I
okay.
was the lead in a series of Airtel commercials,
Okay.
So that's short form acting. So I truly look forward to doing maybe a blockbuster, a Netflix film, a cinema film. I've had the opportunity to be in a cinema film, but it was mostly B-rolls. I had a couple of people saying, "Oh, I see you on Amazon Prime." I'm like, "Yeah, but I wasn't speaking." So I look forward to actually taking that on some more.
Okay.
Because previously I would prefer modeling than acting, but now I think why not? Why not take it all the way? In fact, I might have a new commercial coming soon.
We can't wait for that.
I'm really excited about that. But I think right now I'm in the space of public speaking.
Okay.
I was really excited about my TED Talk, so that really had me going. And because it lines up with my advocacy work as well.
Okay.
So, and I love speaking.
And you talked about Italy as well.
Yes.
So was
yes.
it about this discrimination and the rest of it?
Yeah. So my
Okay.
TED Talk is essentially me bringing my voice to join the movement towards the citizenship issue. So when you're born in Italy, you're not automatically a citizen,
Right.
which is why I do not say that I am an Italian citizen. I say I am Italian by birth, right?
Okay.
But being born there doesn't give you the right to be Italian. So my TED Talk is essentially talking about bringing light to this issue, that there are people who are literally displaced. They lived all their life in Italy. They only speak Italian,
Okay.
but they're not necessarily granted citizenship. You have to apply when you're 18, and a body has to decide whether to give you citizenship. So there's a possibility of you not getting it, like a serious.
Right.
And there are many people who are there without citizenship, and that limits them from the careers that they could take on. They can't play on the national team. They can't become president. Like, it limits them truly, and it's really sad because maybe a boy born by Yoruba parents, he would not know how to speak his language, speaks only Italian, identifies as Italian, and he could grow up and not become citizen of the one place that he thinks is home. It's very sad. So my TED Talk brought light into that,
To that.
and it also ended up being the grander scheme of my dissertation for school, and it got
Okay.
distinction. So I'm really,
Yay.
really excited that my advocacy
You're
was
a
not only
scholar.
something passionate for me, was not only something that was connected to me, was not only advocacy, but it was an academic work that people who are brilliant, who are PhD holders, who are professors at the London School of Economics. That's like a world ranking school right there. To accredit me and say your work is amazing, that felt really good. So that's why that public speaking space was something very big and very good for me. So if you have a chance to speak up for underrepresented individuals, to speak up for what is right, always do it, because the people you're doing it for will appreciate you. You will appreciate yourself, and you will not know when you get noticed. Because I was not doing this to get noticed. I was really doing because I was passionate about it. I'm one of the affected individuals. I don't have Italian passport because of this law, right?
Yeah.
The law says it's iuris sanguinis, which is Latin for blood.
Okay.
And I don't have Italian blood. Like I
Blood.
said earlier on, I have Nigerian blood.
Blood.
So that's why it needed the attention that it needed. And so do what's right always.
Because you're doing well in the academic world, you're also
Yes.
doing in the creative world. And so let's come back to you, as a person, right?
Yes.
You've talked about how all of this is, fulfilling, and you're still also trying to navigate life, as well. And you said you're open to opportunities.
Yes,
So-
I am open to so many different opportunities. Throw it my way. Let's see how it goes.
Yeah. So, what's that thing for you that maybe people don't know about you, right? So let us into who
Ooh,
yeah,
okay,
something we
something
don't know.
that people don't know.
Yeah.
Because I'm such a social butterfly, I like talking, I engage very well with people. People don't understand how much I love my solitude. I live alone. I will pay more to just be alone. Like, when I do really retrieve, I really retrieve. I enjoy my solitude so much. Like, people ask me, okay, well, I don't even have to ask, you're an extrovert. No, I'm really not as extroverted as people see, because
Okay.
people see, oh, I'm energetic, bubbly. She's definitely an extrovert. No, I think the right word is an ambivert, which is like almost like a middle ground between an extrovert and introvert.
Okay.
Because when I say I do really enjoy days by myself, COVID was a punishment for a lot of people. I was like, oh, this is my life on a regular day. I stay by myself. I don't go out unless you kind of force me to.
Okay.
But so it's hard to find people who are introverted, but then when they go in a social space, they make it a thing. No,
Yeah.
they continue to be introverted. While
Okay.
I've kind of been blessed with the ability to do like almost like a chameleon, I kind of become what I need to become in the right spaces. But yeah, so that's one thing people don't really know about me.
Know
Unless
about
you're
you.
my friend for the past 10 years, then when Sabrina gets into I want my me moments, it really gets into a me moments.
Okay. There's a lot to talk about, but we're also running out of time. So let's talk about a high point in your life.
Okay.
Could you share and also talk about maybe a challenge that you've faced and that has shaped you into who you've become, if there's any, like that?
Okay. I think the fact that I left my parents at only 8 years old, when I moved to Canada, I wasn't with my mother or my father. I think that was something challenging that I'm still navigating in life now. Because people tend to see how close I am with my mother now and think, oh my God, the perfect life, I think that's from the trauma of growing up without her, that almost now I've become a child.
Okay.
I had to be forced to be an adult at a very young age, but now that I've gotten the opportunity to be in the same country as her now, I've almost become into the baby that I should have been like 32 years ago.
Okay.
You know what I mean? And then sometimes she calls me mom. We have a very interesting dynamic, but I think it comes from the fact that I left my parents at such a young age.
Okay. Do you have siblings? Because I know you talked about mom, dad, and I didn't hear.
Yeah. So I have an older sibling.
Okay.
Again, that's something when my first 8 years in life was without him because he was living in Nigeria.
Okay.
So I really thought I was an only child for the longest time. So that, again, is probably why our dynamic is so different.
Right.
Yeah, but I love him. He came through for me.
Well done. So the high point.
So now the high point for me definitely has to be my master's graduation for 2 reasons. I think in my immediate family, I'm the most educated. So getting a master's was a very high point because no one else in my immediate family has been able to achieve that, right? And especially having an uneducated woman as your mother, her being able to afford to sponsor that for you says something.
Okay.
Being the first to do that within your family, your immediate family, says something. And also because it was a struggle to submit my final project, my dissertation. There was so many different things happening in my life. I was just crying and felt like giving up. And my mom kept on praying for me. The entire church prayed for me. So the fact that I was able to finally submit my dissertation late. When I say late, they were removing marks every day.
Wow.
Yet I still came with a distinction. So it's truly a powerful story to tell.
Okay.
Maybe we don't have enough time to dissect into it today, but that's definitely a high.
Okay.
It meant so much to me.
All right. You're also an entrepreneur, founder of Osayuki.
Yes.
Right. So could you just quickly shed more light on that?
Yeah. So Osayuki is a passion project of mine that is not out yet. It will be coming out very soon. I don't want to spoil too much magic, but it's my gift to every Edo woman.
Okay.
Every woman that wants to reclaim a narrative that is not theirs. And yeah, wait out, check out. Osayuki is coming.
Okay. So what's next for Sabrina? Looking to the future, right? I mean, you're happy with where you are right now, but looking at the future, what's next?
Okay. A great part of a great part of what is next will be Osayuki.
Okay.
That's coming from me would be Osayuki. Coming from collaborations with different brands.
Okay.
Like I said, looking forward to take up space within that acting field that I haven't totally tapped into. Like I said, politics. So the future is my political voice, making my stamp in the political arena. And yeah, Osayuki, my gift to everyone.
All right. Maybe in 30 seconds, if we may, what's your favorite color?
Ooh, maybe red?
Red. Okay. Where did you get this very fashion? Because you're very fashion conscious. Where did that come from?
Ooh, I think my first job was in the fashion industry, right? Modeling, and then I became a sales associate. So I've been in the fashion for so long, almost 20 years. So it only makes sense for me to be fashionable.
Right. A tongue twister for you. Red lorry, yellow lorry. Say that 5 times.
Okay. Red lorry, yellow lorry. Red lorry, yellow lorry. Red lorry, yellow lorry. It's accents,
Okay, you tried. And as we leave now, what's your motto? For you, what's that thing that keeps you going? I saw that you were in a relationship that was toxic and you walked out of it, or were out of time to, actually talk about that. So What's your motto? What's that thing that, keeps you going? And people who are listening to you, because there are people who have said you're so diverse, multi-talented, and people who want to be in this line, what's your advice to them as well?
Okay. If you believe, you can achieve. Most people don't understand how important your mind is. Your mind truly dictates your life. So if you can already imagine yourself in a space, occupying it, it will happen to you. Before I won the speaking competition that got me to a TED Talk, I envisioned myself on that stage.
Right.
You know what I mean? Everything that has happened for me, I imagined it. I manifested it. So to everyone else, whatever you want to do, whatever space you want to occupy, imagine it. Close your eyes and continually see it. What you're wearing, what you're saying, what you're doing, and it truly will become your reality.
Thank you so much, Sabrina Idukpaye. I was going to take you up on the politics situation because, in Nigeria, we talk about politics and how it goes. If there's anything you want to change or if there's anything you don't like about Nigeria that you're expecting to change, but we're out of time.
We'll do that some other time.
Yeah, thank you so much, Sabrina. And, we'll keep looking out for you.
Awesome.
We're wishing you all the best. Continue to shine because you're a shining star. And that laugh is very infectious. So please keep at it. Thank you. And that's it. We'll wrap up on Woman Crush Wednesday this afternoon. Coming up next is the news at 4 p.m. with George Odora, who is already standing by.
This is Radio Now 95.3 FM. Come for the news, stay for informed conversations.